How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez and Dave Meltzer here, Wrestling Observer Radio. It is January 26, 2017, figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. Very happy today to be joined again by Kenny Omega, just on the show last week. People raving about the show. Yeah, we're very happy to have you back on here. And we're having you back on here to make your announcement. You have made a decision about your future.
Right. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people have been asking and wondering, and people have suspected me for purposely trolling, which is not the case. So I thought I would give you guys the scoop because, you know, when you guys speak, people listen. And, you know, thanks to Mr. Meltzer, I believe that my match has reached a lot more people than it would have just on its own merit. So based on that review alone, I have been able to expose people to my wrestling, and I am very thankful to you guys for that. So why not tell everyone exactly what is going on up to the minute right now?
Okay.
Yeah, so like I said, people have been accusing me of being very vague, and like I had said before on the show it was last week, right?
Last week, yeah.
Right, it was last week. I wasn't doing that purposely, and I wasn't doing that because I'm trying to work the people into thinking one thing over another. It just literally was that I did not know. And now, more or less, I do know. And it sucks that I even have to announce that there is a decision because there will be people disappointed on either side of the fence. Some people want me to be at one place over another, and you know, I am very. It sucks to have to disappoint people, but you know, we do not live in a perfect world where I can work wherever I want. There's always going to be situations where you have to choose one side over another. So, that being said, and the reason why I'm announcing this now, literally up to the minute of me knowing, is that I don't want people to, I might as well just come and say it, I will not be at the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
And I don't want people to have this sort of false hope of me showing up in the Royal Rumble and then not being there and being disappointed. When there's a fantastic match happening with fantastic competitors in it, I don't want the lack of me being in that to disappoint people or catch people off guard or surprise people. Oh, I thought you were going to be in it for sure, and we were waiting for you. And, you know, there are 30 other superstars in that Royal Rumble. I want people to enjoy it and appreciate it for what it's worth, but I will not be appearing at that pay-per-view. So there it is. You heard it from the horse's mouth. I can sort of go into more detail with that. I have not yet come to terms with a New Japan contract. However, I am flying back out in mid-February to renegotiate, and it's looking positive. So there's always that small percentage where the whole thing might go belly up. But I'm just going to be honest, it's looking like I will be with New Japan for at least one more year.
So you're looking at doing a one-year deal as opposed to a multi-year deal?
Yeah. At this point in time, I'm looking at just being with New Japan for at least another year. There are things in Japan that I feel would be left unfinished, and with the momentum that I have right now with the company, and, you know, let's face it, WWE has a very diverse roster. It's very deep. They really don't need talent right now. And I feel that I could help more so in New Japan right now and make an impact more there than I could with WWE.
Now, when you were mulling over options here, and obviously there were a lot of people that would have loved to have seen you in the Royal Rumble and at WrestleMania, and they had all these dream matches that they had. There was a time, not very long ago, that if you were 33 years old and you hadn't signed with WWE yet, I mean, you were at the tail end of possibilities. Was
Right.
this a situation where you saw AJ Styles at 39 go to WWE and get an immediate... I mean, he's the champion right now. He's going into Royal Rumble as a champion. Did that weigh into your
Right.
decision in the sense that I'm 33, but man, the way the business is nowadays, I'm not at the tail end of my possibility of going to WWE?
Right. I mean, that's definitely it. Like you'd said, there are all these outside factors into determining, what your shelf life is going to be in WWE. And right now, it's just, I mean, I used to be, at one point I was too young, one point too inexperienced, one time too small, too crazy, too dangerous, too wacky. And now it's just like anyone from any walk of life, any size, they can be a part of WWE and they can be a star. So I don't have to worry about these things influencing my decision. It's more about timing and, I guess like I touched on a little bit last week, I really just want to be a contributing factor, a positive contributing factor to pro wrestling as a whole. And I feel that with New Japan attempting to make a little bit of a debut in the American market, I can do a lot in that realm. And without going into too much detail on this part of things, but there was an old friend of mine who actually didn't sign with WWE in hopes that we could do something special this year. And I would feel, and in all of the excitement, I'd almost forgotten that was something that should be important to me. And in terms of a complete career, I don't feel like this was the one and only time to jump on it. Like I'd said before, WWE is not missing or lacking any talent. They have such a deep roster with fantastic talent. And even had I made a debut at the Royal Rumble, I mean, I guess it would have been cool. There would have been, a lot of my wonderful supporters would have been excited and happy to see me on that stage. Royal Rumble is always one of the more exciting events of the year, just to see who's going to come out at the 10-second countdown. But again, in my process of thinking of my future, I guess I sort of got confused in myself, where I saw myself doing cool things in Japan, saw myself doing these cool things in WWE, but you can't have it all. You have to choose one over the other and, make a commitment, at least for, the time being. So I am looking to stay with New Japan for another year.
Did they
do everything that I can do?
Did they make an approach for you for a longer deal, or were both sides going, let's go for a year and then take it from there? Or, because I mean, if I'm looking at it from their standpoint with the moves that they're looking to make, especially in 2018, your deal would be over in the end of 2017, early 2018, whatever the 1-year term is up. So it's kind of like, from their standpoint, I would want, you and, the key guys, you, Okada, Tanahashi, Naito, some of the others locked up, 2-3 years really, because they're, 1 year's only the beginning. They're putting their toes in the water in the U.S. this year, and they're going for the swim 2018 the way things look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that's true, and that could very well come up at the negotiating table. But as far as, the communication thus far has just been, let's talk. And, they were very receiving to what I had asked for. Receiving to the point where, I'm actually going to be there in person to speak with everyone. And I had said, let's get me down for another year. And part of that too is that I know that the Young Bucks their contract is up next year too. And I'm really, as much as I'd like to focus on helping New Japan expand and maybe showing a little bit more of what I can do as a singles performer in New Japan, I also want to focus on the elite brand with the Young Bucks. And, that's important to me regardless of where we are. And I would always hope that, us as a trio tandem can do big things.
Now, when you bring that up, with New Japan, they've always had this thing where, and it was a situation you were in until a year ago. You were in the junior division, and there were great guys in the junior division. You worked with like Moscow Dorada and Kushida and those guys, but it was different. And in your situation right now, like if you look at like your prospective opponents, obviously they've got a great heavyweight division, and there's matches you talked about, Ishii and Tanahashi you only did one match with, and there's plenty of room. And obviously Okada rematch would be huge, and there's Shibata, and there's all kinds of talent there you can go with.
Right, yeah.
But at the same time, there's also the Will Ospreays and Ricochets and Volador, people like that you could probably also have great matches with. But the way it's structured, I mean, they're probably not going to be on a big show if you were going to wrestle those guys.
Yeah, which is a shame. Not sure if I'd mentioned this on the show last week, but I'd actually had a plan that I was suggesting where I would defend my briefcase thingy that I wanted the G1. I wanted to defend it against Will Ospreay.
Oh, really?
Because I was sort of it went unspoken, but I was sort of on a mission to destroy and pick apart the Chaos members before eventually facing Okada at Wrestle Kingdom. And I thought that would be something cool to show people. Not only that, but to sort of, blur the lines of this, juniors have to wrestle with juniors, heavyweights have to wrestle with heavyweights, and that the heavyweight must be so much stronger than a junior, and that's why they're juniors. I came from the junior division. I respect those guys a lot. They are very talented, have a real pure and whole passion for professional wrestling. And when they mix it up with a heavyweight, there's a real cool dynamic that I think New Japan hasn't really fully explored. And I think it could add depth to the cards and to the matches. I thought it was a cool idea. It just never happened because the time that I'd wanted to do it, Ospreay had, I think, like Rev Pro booking elsewhere or whatever. He wasn't on the tour. But yeah.
Yeah, because I noticed like when they did the Young Bucks and the Briscoes match last year, and I mean, it seemed to be fine. The challenge seemed to go over good. And it's almost like, I always felt that like the tag team guys especially were kind of put in a certain position, and it's fine and they're on the card, but I thought that there was so much more potential because the best tag teams they had were the junior tag teams. And, there's if you include the junior guys that they have, they really have an unlimited amount of talent and opponents where, instead of maybe 4 to 6 guys you could face, I mean, there's probably, 12 or 14, and it would never get old, essentially.
Right. Yeah, the heavyweight tag team division in New Japan it unfortunately sometimes just resembles like a mishmash of two stronger singles guys teaming together. We do have Tama Tonga and his brother, Gorillas of Destiny, and they do work as a tag team. We have War Machine now, and they are great. But as far as I know, I think the Young Bucks have at least, I think maybe they've done some stuff with War Machine. I'm sure it's been fantastic. But yeah, like you'd said, the real tag teams, tag teams that have focused on the art of being tag team wrestlers, they're all really in the junior division. And if I had my way as a booker, I'd get rid of junior belts and heavyweight belts. I would just have tag team belts and just have all those guys go at it. I think it would make the division more exciting that way.
Now, you have mentioned, and it's pretty well known, that New Japan books a year in advance, and they have an overall story arc. But you did talk about an idea that you had for a match. Tell us a little bit about, for non-essential matches that are not going to ruin the overall story arc, how much input do you have? I mean, how often do you really get a chance to select an opponent or suggest an opponent that isn't going to change the overall direction of where they're going?
Oh, that's a very good question. I didn't try to rock the boat too much when I was getting pushed as a singles wrestler. But I did suggest ways to go about the narrative, and I was the one to also, pretty much write the whole angle between myself and Tanahashi, which was building towards that ladder match. So, they're definitely very receiving to hearing ideas, especially when it's kind of coming from a different mindset. Because, there is a certain New Japan way of booking. And, they're It'll always be that way. But they are open to changing that way of thinking, and they are open to new ideas, which is really cool because, I mean, in 2015, it was just sort of like, you're doing this, and do the best you can, you know? But now it's like, okay, this is the plan. What do you think? Do you have any other ideas to add some pizzazz to this? And that's stuff like where I can really excel in, because I like being creative, thinking outside the box. If there's a way to sort of jazz things up a little bit, that's the stuff I like. And I guess especially now that we're going to be presumably wrestling in many other countries aside from just Japan, they're going to be even more open to a different way of booking and thinking and matchmaking. So, I mean, that's exciting for me too. You know, to sort of have, you know, a hand in almost writing my own creative in a way.
Now, New Japan's got a relationship with CMLL and Ring of Honor, of course.
Right.
I mean, now, have you talked, in the sense of, do you expect to be doing anything with Ring of Honor or CMLL over the next year, or is that something that's still, that hasn't even come up yet at this point?
I'd really like to do some stuff with Ring of Honor this year, if I could. Just in general, I feel like when I'm gone away from performing live in America, I feel like guilty. I want to get in front of those fans. And if ever New Japan is debuting in a new country, or if they're going to a new country, I really want to be on those cards. I want to be able to perform live in front of as many, you know, fans of wrestling, not just necessarily New Japan, but I want to show my art, show what Kenny Omega is live to the people around the world. Because I think there's a different dynamic of being live and in person in front of someone, rather than someone pulling an all-nighter on like 7 to 8 cups of coffee or whatever to stay up till 4 or 5 a.m. to watch one of our New Japan World tapings. I very much think that like guys like myself and the Young Bucks, we excel as a live act. As fun as maybe our matches on film look, I think there's a different kind of aura and energy to watching us in person. I think that's why the Young Bucks, in fact, are so popular at PWG, in that atmosphere where it's just like a gigantic wrestling party. Yeah.
Is there a chance of you doing PWG this year?
There's always a chance. It's just a matter of can the dates jive with the schedule? And I don't know what kind of schedule I'm going to have if I can come to an agreement in February. I would assume I'm going to be on a lot of stuff. But I might not be, because we've had this sudden, with Noah ending up the way that it did, we now have Suzuki-gun back. We're probably going to be using a couple of other Noah talents as well. So the cards are going to be jam-packed. And there's not going to be room for everyone. I wouldn't mind having a more limited schedule and just being on, whatever stuff was necessary for my current storyline. And then I could fill my schedule at that point with stuff like, PWG, Ring of Honor, or what have you.
Now, Kenny, we're running out of time here today, but I want to give you a chance to talk about some... you've got a tour here coming up. You're going to Chile, is that correct?
That's right, yes. The Young Bucks and Broken Matt have been just on a tear in Chile. They're just incredibly famous there, and the Young Bucks had told me about this fantastic promotion that was just a lot of fun and great fans, great people. And as I believe Superstar Wrestling is what they're called, and I'll be on that show this Saturday with Matt Sydal. And
you wrestling Matt Sydal?
I am very much looking forward to it. It's my first time ever going there.
Yeah, against Matt Sydal, or just on the same show with them?
Oh, just on the same show. Okay. Yeah, I actually I don't know my opponent or what I will be doing, but I'm sure it'll be fun regardless.
Now, I saw an interview that you did when you were in the UK a couple days ago, And I mean, there's some interesting things there, but I kind of wanted, because a lot of people that are our listeners didn't hear this, and I guess what you said, your thoughts about Jim Cornette, because after the match, he had a lot to say, and your response was, I mean, I found your response very interesting to what he had to say.
Right. Is there anything specifically that?
No, just I mean, like kind of
the whole statement in general.
Just the whole, I guess, what he said on his show, and your thoughts on what he said, just about you on the show and the match, and anything else,
Right.
As far as
I guess I can reiterate that a little bit. See, people like that, they're very poisonous and cancerous in the world that we live in. Not just necessarily the professional wrestling world, but just the world in general. We don't need negativity like that. And I understand that if he's playing a character, if he's trying to be, okay, I'm bitter old Jim Cornette, and I'm just going to shit on everything that is actually popular. And that's kind of like the tongue-in-cheek, like, ha, 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 I hate everything that's popular, laugh at me, it's funny. The thing is that I understand that not being contracted by WWE, I have a humongous target painted on me. It's easy to bury me and to make it your business to try to make me look like a terrible wrestler, a terrible performer, and go off because people are going to listen. And I get that. But when you're actually being really malicious with comments and trying to almost convince whatever fans that you do have, to not go out of your way to watch this guy or that guy or this guy, guys that are really dedicating themselves to professional wrestling, when it's the general consensus is that they are actually good performers and positive influences on the wrestling scene. I don't know. I get it, and it doesn't bother me. Really, he's just kind of, he's invisible to me. He doesn't bother me when he says negative things. Everyone's entitled to an opinion, and I don't ever expect everyone on the planet that watches my matches to enjoy them. Of course not. A 6-star match to yourself might be a complete dud, a 0-star to someone else. But I do believe wholeheartedly that is not Jim Cornette's actual opinion, because he has made it his business to just crap over everything, all over everything that I've done since, my goodness, like 2010. And there's one comment that I'm recalling now. One way that he always tries to justify his arguments and his opinion is he brings up a story that apparently had happened during his time in ROH. And that was during the holiday season of 2010. He, I suppose, was a part of the book, and himself and Adam Pearce were booking the shows at Ring of Honor. I was in DDT at the time, wrestling for DDT, and I was supposed to come back for, I guess it would have been Final Battle, if that's the last show of the year.
Yeah, that's the big one they do.
That Ring of Honor does.
Yeah.
So I've been booked to come back for Final Battle to face Roderick Strong in a singles match. On tour for DDT in one of my last matches, I'd really injured my ankle. And that part was true. And one part that is true about Jim Cornette's story is I did email a picture to Adam Pearce, and it was to Delirious. I emailed a picture to Delirious of just the most disgusting picture of an injured ankle that I could find as a joke, because he was working on the crew with us, and I thought it'd be funny. Hey, this is my ankle. Take a look. Isn't it horrible? Ha ha ha. And they said, but no, seriously, it's actually really bad. I literally can't walk on it right now. And then Jim Cornette goes on to say that he checked the results from a DDT show, and of course, on the day of Final Battle, I was wrestling in DDT, which is absolutely 100% not true. Not only did I not wrestle, but I didn't even wrestle in and around the date. What he is referring to, or perhaps was even maybe confused with, was that was the day of the Tokyo Sports Awards show. And on that day, I had received the Match of the Year award. That is all. So, could I wrestle? No. Was I able to hobble on stage and accept an award? Yes. That is what I did. And it wasn't the day of, and I want to make that clear. That was actually 2 days before. So it's not like I skipped out on the ROH show to accept an award. I accepted the award and then just hung out in the country because I had nowhere else to be. But he likes to use that as an argument to kind of set the table for Kenny Omega is a bad guy. He's unprofessional. He's a dickwad. Not the case. I would never no-show a company. I mean, if it was under my control, I would never do such a thing. But, yeah, that's Jim Cornette for you. And like I said, like I don't want to like harbor any ill will towards the man, but I just think that guys like that, I don't have time for, and I don't really respect them. And I'm sure that feeling is more than mutual, unless, whatever, maybe he's just playing a character. I don't know. I don't care. But the way he goes about it to try to put himself back in the public eye, that's the part that's sad. And let's face it, it's kind of pathetic.
Well, on that note,
yeah,
at Kenny Omega Man X is the Twitter handle. And we want to give you an opportunity to plug anything else you want to get out there in terms of your stuff, pro wrestling tees, etc.
Sure. I do have a store, Pro Wrestling Tees. That store will be up and available for quite some time, at least a year, at the very least a year, by the looks of it. And again, you guys have been so kind to me. And if for whatever reason there's a drastic change, and there's something that I really feel like I need to report, I would probably let you guys know first and foremost. But like I'd said, negotiations with New Japan are actually going forward. I will be heading back to the country in mid-February. Until then, I'm just a free man.
So you expect New Japan Cup in March, or is that not a definite?
We hadn't even discussed dates yet, but okay. I would assume that if things go well, that I'll probably be on those ROH Japan shows, and then I guess the New Japan Cup.
Well, there you go, Kenny. I want to thank you so much for doing the show here today, and best of luck on your tour trip to Chile. And hopefully, we'll talk to you again very soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me.